The sky above the Zareen Nebula outpost was filled with quiet stars. The war had not reached this corner yet, but everyone knew it would soon. Patrols had doubled. Weapons were always charged. Tensions were high. Inside the steel barracks of the outpost, the human soldier adjusted his gear. He had been through many battles, seen many things, but today something felt different. He had received a message. She was coming. He hadn't seen her in over a year. She was his alien teammate from the old days, a Nyari female scout with silver blue skin, small elf-like ears, and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Back when they were both part of the multi-species alliance squad, they had survived some of the worst missions together. He remembered her voice, her laugh, her calm during chaos. Now she was arriving as a guest advisor for a special mission. When she finally stepped into the command room, his heart skipped. She hadn't changed. Still graceful, still focused, but her eyes paused when they met his. For a second, the room disappeared. Just silence between them. "You look older," she said with a soft smirk. "And you look the same, sharp and mysterious as always," he replied. She tilted her head slightly. "Still hiding your thoughts, I see." He chuckled nervously. "Some things don't change." They were assigned to the same unit for a short mission, border scan and threat assessment. Routine, but the kind where things could go wrong fast. They walked together through the long corridors of the outpost, sharing small talk at first. Slowly, deeper memories returned. "Remember that swamp on Terrace 4? He asked. "You fell in twice," she replied, her voice soft with amusement. "You pushed me the second time." He grinned. "It was strategic training," she said, trying to sound serious, but her lips curled into a smile. As they reached the hangar, he stopped for a moment. She turned to look at him. For a moment, he wanted to tell her everything he had kept inside all these years, that every message he sent, every time he asked how she was, every time he watched the stars, it was about her. But he stayed, quiet. Instead, he simply said, "It's good to see you again." "And you?" she replied. But her tone had changed. It was softer now. She looked at him a little longer than before, as if she knew there was more he wasn't saying. Later that evening, while preparing for departure, he sat alone on a crate near their small ship. She approached, her footsteps light. "You've changed too," she said gently. "Not just your face. There's something different in your eyes." He looked away. "Maybe war does that. Or maybe something else," she added. He didn't reply. The stars blinked, silently above them. She stood beside him, close but not too close. The silence between them was not uncomfortable but filled with something unspoken. She finally said, "Get some rest. Tomorrow might be difficult." He nodded. As she turned to leave, he almost called her name, but stopped. He had hidden his feelings for a long time. Too long. Now that she was back, could he find the courage to tell her? The war might be coming, but something stronger was building inside him, something he could no longer ignore. The next morning, the sky over the outpost was cloudy, the stars hidden behind thick mist. The mission was set. The human soldier and his alien friend boarded a small scout ship meant for two. It was a quiet flight. The engines hummed low, and both sat in silence checking equipment. She finally spoke. "This area is known for strange readings. We need to stay alert." He nodded. "We'll be careful, like old times." A small smile touched her lips. Like old times. They flew toward Sector Delta 9, a quiet region near the border. Their job was to scan for hidden enemy drones and send back data. It sounded simple, but both knew danger could appear without warning. Inside the cockpit, he kept stealing glances at her. She focused on the scanner, her hands smooth and steady. Her voice guided him as they flew. She was always calm, always in control. He wanted to tell her how much he admired that. Instead, he asked, "What did you do after the last mission we had together?" She glanced at him. "Traveled for a while. Helped build peace between two tribes on Venner Prime. Learned a bit about human music." He laughed. "Music? I like the piano. It reminds me of rain. He smiled, surprised. Never thought you listened to that kind of stuff. You never asked. Just then, the screen blinked red. Storm front incoming, she warned. Outside, dark clouds were forming quickly. Lightning cracked far below as the ship rocked. He tightened his grip on the controls. I'm going to change course, he said. She checked the data. Too late, the wind is pulling us down. The storm hit hard. The ship jerked violently. He tried to stabilize it, but the engines screamed. Lights blinked. Warnings flashed. The ship was going down fast. Brace yourself, he shouted. They crashed into a deep rocky canyon, hitting the ground with a loud metallic thud. Smoke filled the cabin. Sparks danced around the control panel, but they were alive. He coughed, undoing his straps. Are you okay? I'm fine, she said, already checking the emergency systems. They climbed out of the wreck. The ship was damaged, unable to fly. Around them, high rock walls blocked most of the sky. The air was thin but breathable. She scanned the area. No signal, we're alone. He kicked the ground in frustration. Great, just great. We've survived worse, she said calmly. He looked at her. Dirt smudged her face, but her eyes were steady. She was strong, braver than most soldiers he had ever known, and she was here, trapped with him. Part of him was glad for that, though he wouldn't say it aloud. They found a small cave nearby and set up camp. He lit a fire using emergency fuel. She sat close, warming her hands. In the soft orange light, her skin glowed gently. He found himself watching her again. She noticed. What are you thinking? He looked away. Just trying to figure out how we always end up like this. She smiled slightly. It's the universe's idea of fun. He chuckled. Well, it has a strange sense of humor. As the night grew colder, they sat closer near the fire. The silence was warm this time, filled with memories and quiet trust. But inside him, something stirred. A thought, a hope, a feeling. One he had hidden too long. They were alone. There was no one else. Here. No orders. No mission to distract them. Maybe this was his chance. The morning in the canyon was cold and quiet. The wind whispered across the rocks and strange bird-like creatures flew high above. The soldier woke up early, checking his gear, hoping the rescue signal they sent would reach someone. The alien woman was already awake, standing on a ledge nearby, looking at the rising sun. You didn't sleep much, he said, walking up to her. I listened, she replied, to the wind, to the echoes in the canyon. He smiled. You always listen better than I do. She glanced at him. And you always talk more. He laughed softly. That's fair. As they shared dry rations for breakfast, she suddenly paused. Her ears twitched slightly, sensing something. Her eyes narrowed. Stay low, she whispered. Before he could ask why, a sharp noise broke the silence. A blast shot past their heads, striking the cave wall behind them. They dropped to the ground as more shots came from above. Shadows moved along the canyon rim, enemy scouts. A patrol had found them. The human rolled and fired his pulse rifle, hitting one of the enemies on the ledge. The alien woman moved fast, her energy blades humming to life. She blocked a blast with one arm guard and returned fire with sharp, quick shots. They must have tracked our crash, she said, moving behind a rock. They're not here to capture, he growled. They're here to kill. The two worked together just like old times. She climbed higher to flank the attackers, while he drew their attention from below. Blaster fire echoed in the canyon, dust flying everywhere. He focused on protecting her from danger, moving without thinking about himself. But then he heard it, a cry of pain. He turned sharply and saw her fall, hit by a glancing shot in her side. She rolled down the rocks, landing hard near him. He rushed to her side, panic rising in his chest. You're hurt. It's not deep, she said through clenched teeth. I can still fight. No, he said firmly, shielding her with his body as he fired above. You saved me too many times. Now it's my turn. He fought fiercely, every muscle tense, every thought focused on keeping her safe. His heart pounded not from fear, but from something deeper. He couldn't lose her, not here, not now. After several more minutes, the last enemy fell. The canyon fell silent once more. He dropped his weapon and turned to her. Blood ran down her side, but she was conscious. He knelt beside her, hands shaking. "Let me help," he said gently, pulling out a medkit. She watched him, her breathing slow. "You're more worried than usual." He didn't answer. He simply worked, cleaning the wound, sealing it. His hands moved carefully as if she might break. Her skin was warm under his touch, her eyes never leaving his. When he was done, he sat back, staring at the ground. "I thought I lost you," he said quietly. "You didn't," she replied. He looked at her. "But I could have. And I never told you." She tilted her head. "Told me what?" He opened his mouth but stopped. The words sat heavy on his tongue. It wasn't the right time. Not yet. Instead, he said, "I'm just glad you're okay." She stared at him for a moment, eyes deep and unreadable. "Thank you," she said. But something had changed between them. She had heard more than just his words. She had felt it in the way he held her, the way he fought for her, the way he looked at her like she was the only person that mattered. And she was starting to wonder if she felt the same. The fire crackled softly inside the cave that night. Outside, the wind howled across the canyon, but inside, the warmth wrapped around them like a blanket. The human soldier sat near the alien woman, watching her rest. She was healing, but slowly. The medkit helped stop the bleeding, but the pain hadn't fully gone. He handed her a small pouch of water. "Drink. You need it." She took it with a small nod. "Thank you for everything today. You would have done the same." He said. "I have," she replied, a faint smile touching her lips. He smiled back, but it faded quickly. His heart was heavy. He had almost lost her, and the fear still sat in his chest like a stone. She noticed his silence. "You're thinking again." "Yeah," he said quietly. "I do that too much." She tilted her head. "You're hiding something." "I've felt it for a long time." He looked away, staring at the fire. The flames reflected in his eyes, flickering like the thoughts in his mind. "I am," he admitted. "There's something I've been meaning to say, but I never did, and I don't know why." She didn't interrupt. She waited, patient and still, like she always did when things mattered. He took a deep breath. "You remember when we first got assigned to that frozen outpost on Zell 3? "Yes," she said softly. "You hated the cold. Your nose turned red." He chuckled, then grew quiet again. "That mission changed something. It was the first time I realized I cared about you. Not just as a teammate, not just as a friend." She blinked slowly, but said nothing. "I kept telling myself it was nothing, that we were just working together. But the truth is, I've cared about you for a long time, and every time we fought side by side, it grew stronger. I didn't want to admit it because I was scared." "Scared of what?" she asked, her voice gentle. "That you wouldn't feel the same. That maybe humans and Yari aren't meant to feel this way about each other. That maybe I'd ruin the best friendship I ever had." She looked at him quietly for a long time. Her expression didn't change, but her eyes grew softer. "I heard you," she finally said. He looked confused. "When?" "Earlier, when I was hurt. You whispered something when you thought I couldn't hear." His heart froze. "You heard that?" She nodded. "Yes, and I didn't stop you." He stared at her, his breath caught in his throat. "You were honest," she continued. "And that means something to me." He couldn't read her expression. Was she upset, surprised, disappointed? But then slowly, she reached out her hand and placed it gently over his. "I don't fully understand human love," she said softly, "but I know how I feel when I'm with you. I feel safe, I feel stronger, and I feel seen. He swallowed hard. Does that mean? It means I'm not afraid to be close to you, she whispered. Their hands remained together in the firelight, fingers gently intertwined. There was no kiss, no dramatic music, just warmth, honesty, and trust. Outside, the wind continued to howl. Inside, something had changed between them forever. The fire had died down, but the warmth between them still remained. The alien woman sat close to the human soldier, her hand resting gently on his. No more words were spoken for a while. The silence was peaceful now, not heavy like before. She looked at him, her eyes calm. I've been thinking too. He turned to her, unsure what she would say next. In my world, she began, we don't use words to express love like humans do. We show it through trust, through actions, through presence. He listened closely, every word sinking deep into him. When you saved me back there in the canyon, she said softly, I saw something in your eyes. It wasn't fear. It was something deeper. Something that told me I mattered to you. You do. He replied quietly. She nodded. And I realized, you've shown me that many times. You stood by me. You listened when I needed someone. You protected me without asking anything in return. I guess I never knew if that was enough, he admitted. I didn't know if you saw it the same way. She smiled gently. I may not understand every human emotion, but I understand you. Her words touched him more than he expected. He didn't need anything grand, just this quiet moment of truth. But I must tell you something, she added, her voice growing, serious. If we take this path, it will not be easy. He nodded. I know. My people are careful with bonds. They don't mix easily with other species. Some will question it. Others might try to stop it. Let them try, he said firmly. I'm not afraid. She stared at him with a deep look. That's why I trust you. They sat for a moment, letting those words settle between them like gentle snow. But just as the peace began to settle in, her ears twitched again. She stood up fast. I hear something. He grabbed his rifle and followed her to the cave entrance. Far in the distance, small lights flickered. The enemy had returned, this time with a larger force. A patrol ship hovered above the canyon walls. They tracked. Us again, he said. We need a plan. She pulled up a small device from her belt. If we reach the cliffside, I can use this to send a stronger signal. The rock here blocks most of our transmission. That's a long way, he replied, especially with you still healing. I'll manage, she said, eyes focused. No, he said firmly. We'll go together. They moved fast, staying low between the rocks. Enemy drones flew overhead. Every second was a risk, but they trusted each other completely. When they reached the edge of the cliff, she activated the signal. It sparked blue and sent a beam into the sky. But now, the enemy saw them too. Ships turned toward their location. Lights brightened, weapons charged. They're coming, she said. He stepped in front of her. Then we make our stand. Back to back, they readied their weapons. In this moment, their feelings weren't hidden. They fought as one, not just as soldiers, but as something more. Her voice was calm beside him. Whatever happens next, I'm glad it was you, he smiled. Me too. And as the enemy closed in, the human and the alien stood side by side, unafraid, together. Blaster fire lit up the canyon like lightning. The enemy ship circled above, scanning the rocks. Drones dropped down, their red eyes glowing in the dust. The human soldier stood tall, weapon ready. Beside him, the alien woman raised her energy blade, calm and focused. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. Every move was shared through trust. The first drone came fast, diving straight at them. He fired 3 quick shots, boom, 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 and the machine crashed into the ground. Another followed, but she stepped forward, slicing through it in one smooth motion. More enemies came. They fought back to back, each protecting the other. The soldier's heart raced, but his hands stayed steady. Every time he looked at her, he remembered why he was fighting, not just to survive, but to protect what they had built. "I count 6 more," he shouted. "I'll take the left." "You, take the right," she replied, already moving. They split for a moment, drawing fire away from each other. He rolled behind a rock, blasting 2 drones mid-air. She leapt over a ledge, landing with precision and cutting through another. Sparks flew. The canyon shook from explosions, and yet, neither of them gave up ground. One enemy soldier dropped from above, aiming at her back. "Behind you!" the human yelled. Without thinking, he ran and pushed her aside, taking the hit on his armor. The blast knocked him to the ground. She turned quickly, eyes wide. "You're hit." "I'm okay," he groaned. "Just my shoulder. Keep going." But she didn't leave him. She stood over him and fired at the enemy, her face fierce with emotion. She pulled him to his feet with strength he didn't know she had. "You saved me," she said breathlessly. "You saved me first," he replied. They kept moving. Together they reached a higher point and saw the enemy ship descending. More troops were coming, too many. He looked at her. "We can't hold them forever." "We won't need to," she said, holding up the beacon. "Look." High above, a bright blue light flashed across the clouds. Then a sound echoed in the sky, a deep, powerful hum. Rescue had arrived. 3 Alliance fighter ships broke through the clouds, guns blazing. They fired down on the enemy, clearing the canyon with precise blasts. The enemy patrol ship tried to flee, but it was hit and exploded in the air. The battle was over. The human and the alien stood still, watching the sky. Dust blew past them. Their hearts were still racing, but they were alive. Alliance soldiers dropped from the ships and ran toward them. Medics checked the human's wound. Commanders asked what happened, but he only had eyes for her. She walked to him slowly. Her armor was scratched, her hair was messy, but her eyes were shining. "We made it," she said. He nodded. "Thanks to you?" "No," she said gently. "Thanks to us." For a moment, it felt like time had stopped. The noise of war faded. Around them, the soldiers moved, the ships landed. But he only saw her, and in her eyes, he saw something real. Not just a friend, not just a teammate, but someone who understood him, completely. The stars above the outpost were bright again. The storm had passed, the enemy was gone. Peace had returned, at least for now. The human soldier sat on a bench near the landing pad, his shoulder bandaged. He stared at the sky quietly, his thoughts full. The battle was over, but something deeper was still happening inside him. Footsteps approached. He didn't need to look. He already knew who it was. The alien woman stood beside him, calm as always, her eyes shining in the soft light of the moons. "You didn't join the debriefing," she said gently. "I needed a moment," he replied. She nodded and sat beside him. They were quiet for a few seconds, just breathing in the cool night air. "Command is impressed," she said. "They want to assign you to a higher post." He smiled slightly. "And you?" "They asked me to lead a joint unit," she said. "But only if I choose to stay." He looked at her carefully. "Do you want to stay?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached into a small pouch on her belt and pulled out a thin silver band, a Nyari bonding thread. "In my world," she said softly, "this is how we express trust, connection, and something more." She placed the thread in his hand. "I don't know how long this peace will last, and I don't know what challenges we'll face next," she continued. "But if we face them together, I believe we'll find something worth fighting for." He stared at the thread for a long moment. It was simple. No jewels, no metal, just a smooth, light band. But it meant everything. He looked at her, and in his eyes, there was no hesitation anymore. "I want to stay too," he said. Not because of the new rank, not because of duty. He gently wrapped the thread around his wrist. "But because I want to be wherever you are." She smiled. Truly smiled this time. It wasn't her usual calm look. It was warm, deep, and full of emotion. "I never thought I'd feel this way about someone outside my kind," she said. "But with you, it feels right." He reached out and held her hand. It fit perfectly in his, warm and steady. Around them, soldiers laughed, ships landed, and reports were filed. But the two of them sat still in their own world, quiet, peaceful, and connected. The war had taken much from them: friends, time, peace. But it had also given them something rare, something beautiful, a bond born not just from battles, but from trust, honesty, and care. She leaned her head on his shoulder. He didn't move. He just smiled and closed his eyes, letting the moment last. In the sky, 2 moons glowed softly. The stars shone brighter now. And in the heart of a quiet outpost, on the edge of the galaxy, a human and an alien found something more powerful than weapons or victory. They found each other.